In 1987, a small Midwestern town was shaken by the mysterious death of Gary Heiligan, a local businessman whose life seemed ordinary on the surface, but concealed dark secrets. His body was discovered months after his disappearance, surrounded by questions that remain unanswered to this day. Was it suicide, or was Gary the victim of a sinister conspiracy? Gary Heiligan was a 41-year-old construction contractor based in a quiet Midwestern town. Known for his reliability and friendly demeanor, Gary was a family man who built a successful business over 2 decades. However, those close to him noticed a shift in his behavior in the months leading up to his disappearance. Friends and family described him as increasingly paranoid, convinced that he was being followed and that his life was in danger. These suspicions seemed to stem from his involvement in uncovering financial irregularities within local companies he had worked with. On September 12, 1987, Gary left his office, telling his secretary he had an important meeting. He never returned. That evening, his wife reported him missing after he failed to come home. His car was found 2 days later, abandoned on a rural road miles away from his home. Inside the vehicle, investigators discovered his briefcase was missing, along with a significant sum of cash he had recently withdrawn from his bank. On December 3, 1987, hikers found Gary's decomposed body in a dense forest about 15 miles from where his car had been located. His death was initially ruled a suicide due to the presence of an empty prescription pill bottle nearby. However, several inconsistencies led investigators and the public to question this conclusion. Gary had bruises on his wrists and neck that suggested a struggle. His body was found lying face down, with his arms unnaturally twisted behind his back. The cash and documents he had withdrawn before his disappearance were never recovered. These details made many believe that his death was far from straightforward. Some believe Gary's paranoia and recent financial troubles may have driven him to take his own life. However, his family adamantly denies this, citing his plans for the future and lack of any prior history of mental health issues. Another theory is that Gary's claims about uncovering corruption in local businesses led to his murder. The bruises on his body and the staged appearance of his death site support this theory. Finally, some posit that members of local law enforcement or influential community figures were involved. Gary's concerns about being followed and his missing documents hint at a larger cover-up. Adding to the complexity of the case, several individuals reportedly saw Gary on the day of his disappearance, but their accounts varied significantly. One witness claimed to have seen him meeting a man in a black car at a diner on the edge of town. Another reported spotting him arguing with 2 unidentified men near the location where his car was later discovered. Despite these testimonies, no concrete evidence linked anyone to his disappearance. Gary's work in the construction industry often brought him into contact with influential figures in the town. Some speculate that he may have stumbled upon illegal activities, such as money laundering or embezzlement, tied to these individuals. His reputation as an honest businessman may have made him a target when he refused to participate or threatened to expose the wrongdoing. Further investigations revealed that Gary had recently taken out a life insurance policy worth a substantial amount. While this initially fueled the suicide theory, the policy's details raised questions. The beneficiary was listed as his wife, but the timing of the policy's purchase, just weeks before his disappearance, was suspicious. Investigators could not determine whether Gary had taken out the policy under duress or as a precautionary measure in light of the threats he reportedly faced. The discovery of Gary's body led to a controversial autopsy report. The coroner noted signs of blunt force trauma to the back of his head, inconsistent with a fall or self-inflicted injury. Additionally, the presence of a sedative in his system suggested he may have been incapacitated before his death. These findings were largely overlooked in the initial investigation, fueling accusations of a cover-up. As public interest in the case grew, local media began uncovering troubling connections between some members of law enforcement and the businesses Gary had worked with. Rumors of corruption within the police department gained traction, leading to calls for an independent investigation. However, these efforts were met with resistance, and key evidence, including Gary's phone records and financial documents, reportedly went missing from the case files. Over the years, the Heiligan family hired private investigators to delve deeper into the case. One investigator uncovered a chilling detail: a series of anonymous letters sent to Gary in the months before his death. The letters contained vague threats and warned him to stay silent about matters he had allegedly uncovered. Handwriting analysis suggested the letters came from multiple individuals, but their identities remain unknown. The forest where Gary's body was found became a focal point for amateur sleuths. Groups combed the area for clues, discovering items that had been overlooked by authorities. Among these was a torn piece of fabric that matched the suit Gary was last seen wearing, and a rusted pocket knife with unidentified fingerprints. Despite these findings, law enforcement showed little interest in reopening the case. In recent years, true crime enthusiasts have revisited the Heiligan case, uncovering additional discrepancies in the official narrative. For example, bank records revealed that Gary had deposited a significant sum of money into an offshore account shortly before his disappearance. This discovery led to speculation that he might have been planning to flee or was coerced into hiding assets for someone else. The Heiligan case has also inspired numerous theories involving organized crime. Some believe Gary's death was a professional hit, carried out to silence him before he could expose damaging information. Others suggest he may have been caught in a dangerous game of blackmail, with fatal consequences when he refused to comply with his extortionist demands. Decades later, Gary's death remains a topic of speculation and debate. His family continues to push for the case to be reopened, believing that critical evidence was either missed or intentionally suppressed. True crime enthusiasts and amateur sleuths have revisited the case in recent years, uncovering additional details that point to foul play. The tragic death of Gary Heiligan is a stark reminder of how easily questions can remain unanswered in a small town where everyone knows each other. Was it a case of personal despair, or did Gary's pursuit of the truth lead him into dangerous territory? As we piece together the fragments of his story, we're left with more questions than answers.